Alright guys, so as much as I rave about truly wireless earbuds and as much as I love the technology, I still think that there's nothing that beats a good wired pair of headphones. The technology is just not there with Bluetooth, but there's just something that you get with a wired pair of headphones that Bluetooth technology has not been able to duplicate. And today's pair we're going to check out is a very impressive wired pair of headphones, and that's the Audeze LCD-1s. Now this pair comes in at $400, but it is an open back headphone that's using 90mm planar magnetic drivers. Now usually whenever you see planar magnetic drivers mixed with open back, it's usually a huge obnoxious pair of headphones. But somehow Audeze was able to make a very nice looking compact pair of headphones in the LCD-1s. But let's go ahead and check out some of the features and what it is you get inside the box. Now the first thing I noticed with the box is it is a solid black look. There's no images, there's no details, it's very simple. And that kind of fits the theme of the headphones themselves. There's nothing flashy here, there's nothing bright obnoxious, there's no microphone for calls, there's none of that. There's just a very nice pair of headphones that's actually made and handcrafted in the United States, which again in itself is pretty surprising. But when you open up the box, you see that you get a very nice hard case, but the first thing that you notice for this to be an open back pair of headphones is the case is pretty compact. And that actually fits the style of the headphones because it says that these are portable, even though I do not recommend using them out and about because this is an open back pair of headphones. Which, if you're not familiar with that, basically it means anything that you're listening to, anybody around you is going to hear the same thing. There's nothing to keep your sound in, and that also adds to the sound of these. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now also in the box, you get a reversible cable, which basically means that it doesn't matter where you plug the cables in, if it's in the left or the right, you don't have to match any of that up. But I do want to point out is the cable does plug in both sides. So if you're not used to that, that is something that takes a little bit of getting used to, simply having a cable coming from both sides of the ear cups. But it is a nice fabric cable, it's pretty thick. Although I do want to point out with fabric cables like this, it is something that can fray over time, so I really wish that it was a different material. Now the plug itself is a 3.5mm plug-in. They do include the 1/4" adapter if you're going to plug it into a mixing board or an amp or anything that uses that style of plug. Now another thing about these is the impedance level on these are very low. They come in at 16 ohms, so honestly they should be very easy to drive, and they are. Straight plugging them into the iPad, I noticed that the volume levels I could get very high, and you can turn these up really loud without any distortion. And again, that's very impressive. Now the first thing that I noticed when I picked up the headphones are how light they are. In fact, they're so light that at first they feel kind of cheap because the build quality of these are all plastic. Inside the headband you can see the aluminum extenders basically to give you a little bit more support, and you can stretch these out and bend these a little bit, but you can start to notice a little bit of creaking. Now I understand that they do want to keep these lightweight, especially when they advertise these as being portable, but build quality is a slight concern just because of the plastic build and the fact that you're spending $400. Now this is almost kind of like the norm with Audeze on the outside of the ear cups where you see the A design in the grill. This is also where you can see the mesh grill behind it, which basically again is letting you know this is an open back pair of headphones. Now as far as the padding goes, this is a very comfortable pair of headphones, not only because it's light, but because the cushions are very padded. Now it says that the material of the ear pads, it's a lambskin leather. It is very soft, and I found that I could wear these for long periods of time. Now as far as the padding on the headband, there is okay padding here, but in a sense you really don't need a lot of padding because these are so lightweight. Now these do swivel out, which I wish they swiveled in, and you are able to fold these down to be pretty compact to fit in a case. So now let's just go ahead and move over to the sound itself. Now normally when you pick up reference style headphones or headphones where a company is saying that you can use it for mixing and monitoring, you're usually expecting more of a flatter sound, and these in my opinion are far from having a flat sound signature. Now, they could probably be EQ'd to get a more flat sound signature, but the first thing that surprised me about these is normally the first thing that I notice with planar magnetic driver headphones is they usually have a darker tone, as to where, again, with these, it has a very dynamic sound, and in my opinion has some of the best treble I've heard in any pair of headphones. Now, that's even including the Sennheiser HD650s, which I think are very clean and very detailed. I think the treble that's in the LCD-1s can definitely compete with those. Now, the mids that are in here, I think vocals come through very clear. I think vocals are very detailed, but I will say at times, depending on what genres you're listening to, the vocals do seem to fall a little bit behind the bass and a little bit behind the treble. It seems more like the bass and the treble is tuned up a little more to be in your face, where the mids are kind of sitting back a little bit. Now, it's not to the extreme where it feels like it can't keep up, and it's not to the point where it feels like it's muddy or anything like that. Again, this is a very nice sounding, detailed pair of headphones where I'm really surprised at how dynamic it's able to sound. Bass is nice and punchy. It was able to pick up even at lower frequencies, and it never distorts, which basically means that you can turn this up and listen as loud as you want to. I had no issues with distortion. Treble I just found to be fantastic, and the details that it picked up, it just made listening to music very enjoyable. Now, the one thing that I did find very odd is the Soundstage. I thought with an open back pair of headphones, these were going to sound extremely open, almost to where you feel like you're in a concert hall, and somehow they don't. This actually kind of has a lot of characteristics of a closed back pair of headphones. It feels like you're in a medium to large size room. It definitely still feels like the instruments are spread out enough, but you just don't have that very large open feel that you do with a lot of other open back headphones. And I don't know if it's the placement of the drivers itself. I don't know if it's the fact that the design is so much smaller, so there's not a lot more room in the ear cups or a lot more breathability. It's just very odd that you're listening to an open back pair of headphones that just don't have the characteristics of an open back pair of headphones. Now, as far as the sound imaging, picking up details, picking up where instruments are coming from is no issue. I think these definitely nail it when it comes to that. Everything really does have that separation. I can tell that the vocalist is sitting right here, and I can tell that maybe the drums or the guitars is coming from this side, or, you know, being able to hear things move around. And these are actually really good with gaming. I found that, you know, using these with gaming just kind of added a whole nother element that's really enjoyable. And what's adding to that is the fact that the bass has impact, so explosions and gunshots and stuff like that are really nice. And now, as far as my cons with these, I do want to say that I feel like the build quality, just when you pick them up and moving them around and hearing some of the sounds, feels a little bit cheap for the $400 price tag. The fabric cord concerns me because of fraying after, you know, long terms of use. And then the only other thing that I really would like to see a little bit different is a little bit more open in the Soundstage. Because of these having open back headphones, what you normally do is you're sacrificing the fact that, you know, your music can be heard on the outside so that you can get that really open feel. So with these, people are still able to hear everything you're listening to, but you're not getting the full feature presentation of having an open back pair of headphones. But overall, for $400, I absolutely love these. Usually in the audiophile range, you're going to spend like 2 to 3 times as much to get some of the characteristics that this pair of headphones has. Again, there are some things that I would like to see done differently, but at $400, I can recommend the Audeze LCD-1. But guys, thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.